Thank you.
Okay, that's
Thank
got it.
you.
You got it.
Okay, so it's 7:02, and I'll call the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. For roll call and seating of alternates, I see Ann Cremay, Scott Person, Steve Nelson, Leanne Hutchinson, and myself. I also see Susan England, an alternate in attendance, and she will not be seated tonight. Next item up on the agenda is additions or changes to the agenda. And I do have a couple. I'm going to change the order around just a little bit to support some people that I see present. I'm going to move item 6A, new business, up right after public speak. And then I see our school superintendent present. So after that, we will have the update on zoning amendments, old business 5E. Then after that, old business 5A, restoration of the gravel pit. And after that, new business 6B, the budget. I will delete the old business items on update Rosewood Acres, updates on accessory apartments, and update on plan of conservation and development. Also renumber items starting with approval of minutes. That should be item 7, correspondence 8, admin reports 9, public speak 10, and 11 and 12 next in adjournment. So those are the changes to the agenda. Any other changes for that? And Attorney Brands, welcome. I see
Thank you.
You got the message.
I did. I tend to check emails all the time. It's a good thing.
Yeah, well, it was funny. I thought after I wrote back to you the meetings tonight, you were using the Jewish sunset of starting the new day when you said the meeting, you'd see me tomorrow. And so I'm glad we got that all
Definitely.
straightened out tonight. So welcome. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay, I'll make a motion that the changes to the agenda that I discussed be approved.
I'll second that.
Okay. I'm going to call for a vote just because I don't see Leanne here. I'll go Ann,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So the motion to change the agenda passes 5-0. With that, we'll go down to the new business item, the 824 referral for development of a senior community center adjacent to 17th School Road Town Hall. And let's. And Eric, I can't find your letter here in my little file. I've got about 500 things open, but yours somehow disappeared on me today. Is it possible, Eric, you can share your screen and pop that letter up?
Sure, give me a couple seconds and I'll track it down.
While Eric's calling that up, I made so many changes to the agenda, I jumped over public speak. And so I guess at this point, I'll go back and I don't think there's anybody from the public who wants to speak at this time, but this is your opportunity. Okay, hearing none, that closes out public speak. Now we're on to the new business for the 824 referral.
Okay, I think you should see it on your screen now.
We do, and if you can blow it up just a little bit. That's pretty good, yeah. So all the commission members should have had the opportunity to review Eric's letter. And I thought he did a good job of explaining how the most recent plan of conservation and development didn't directly address a new senior center. The long-term planning committee that put out a report in 2018, well, the report came out in 2019, discussed it at length. And so, I'm looking to hear what the commission thinks as to does our plan of conservation support putting a community senior center in the general vicinity of between the school and the town hall? Or was anybody able to find something in there that might preclude putting the community center between the school and the town hall? Anybody got any thoughts?
I didn't find anything.
Okay,
I didn't see anything about the location, but I've got other concerns about, I didn't see anything about the location of it in the plan of conservation and development. I have some other concerns about the location. I don't know if you want me to bring those up now or not, or wait till we get to the zoning part, maybe.
well, so I guess I would like to stick with, what might be in the plan of conservation and development to preclude us putting it. And we know that the general location is, somewhere between the school and the town hall. We're not looking at the exact location there. That'll be a discussion for another day. Yeah, I was going to start this discussion tonight saying, we're really talking about can we build a community center in the Andover Rural Design District? But we do all know basically where it's being looked at put, and so we ought to view it with that in mind. And so I'll pass on Ann for a moment. Leanne, did you have any thoughts on that?
Me?
Yep.
No, nothing in particular.
Okay. And Steve,
No, I'm not aware of anything that would preclude it. And I, read Eric's note here, and I think it's very logical, and it kind of puts the whole story together.
yeah, so, when I read through the plan of conservation and development, we've got a whole section in there. I think it's section 12 about the increasing older population and how we need to serve them. Certainly back when the plan of conservation came out, I was surprised it didn't talk about needing a new one. But at the same time, we had a senior center and so not necessarily required that it talk about that. If the town hall, something happened to that tomorrow, we'd be talking about putting up a new one, even though it's not addressed in the plan of conservation and development.
I did see something interesting here. In the very last page of the plan of conservation and development, it looked like this. It has for each chapter some points that we should be looking at. And under chapter 12, the third point was plan for a new senior center, which allows for social interaction and avoids isolation.
Okay,
So it does have it there. It was the very last page when I looked, at least on the computer. It was the very, very last page of the whole plan.
and where is that on that page, Ann?
There's like sections for each chapter, and in the middle, the chapter 12. And then I think the numbering might be based on priority, but the third one down does say plan for a new senior center. And it's like the very last page of the whole thing, and it looks sort of like that. I'll try to hold it up to show what it looks like.
Oh, okay, so that's that little worksheet. Okay, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, my eyes aren't focusing on the copy I've got well enough to do it, but
I had to print it out and enlarge it in order to read it.
okay, yep, I see it in there. It's section 12, item 3, plan for new, okay, nope, that's great.
So the idea of building it is definitely in there to have a new
Yep,
one.
okay, that's good.
It
Now,
just doesn't talk about the location, that's all.
a couple of the points that I took away when I was reading through that. On chapter 10, page 4, where it discusses the Andover Town Center,
Mhm.
it discusses connecting the current town center with the Andover Elementary School Town Hall Fire Department complex, stating this combination would have the most uses one expects in a true town center. And so the plan of conservation does hint at putting, the two sections together for the town center concept. And then in chapter 10 on page 13, it says, at the same time, carefully designed and clustered senior or 55 and older housing would complement the adjacent governmental buildings and create a village atmosphere which would be very desirable. And so I thought, when you're talking about putting senior housing near the town hall municipal complex, putting a senior center in the middle of those two things would seem very supportive of the thing. So again, I tried to find a stumbling block going through there, didn't see any. And I thought it did make sense and was consistent with our plan of conservation and development. And so, I guess with the points I just listed there and Ann's point, any other discussion or questions of Eric on his letter before I make a motion to vote on it? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion that placing the senior/community center in the relative location between the town hall and the school is consistent with the 2015 Plan of Conservation and Development in the 2019 Long-Term Study Plan for the town of Andover.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Scott. Any other discussion on the item?
I would personally, I don't think I would vote until after some other things are covered, like to do with the location and the zoning. I just wouldn't be able to vote on it yet.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, go ahead.
for the record, Attorney Mark Brandt, since location isn't designated, one of the things the commission could do is simply find that the concept of a new senior center is in harmony with the goals and objectives of the plan of conservation development, with the site to be evaluated when it's designated. Because typically these referrals do include the site. It's unusual for them not to, but that's it's obviously one step at a time. So that's one way you can address that disconnect, is just by recommending it as an improvement, a facility that is in line with the plan.
Well, and I thought we were trying to keep it at the conceptual level. And again, we've got, surveys of the town people that suggest that that's where the majority of the 70-some% of the people that responded to our survey in 2018 thought that's where it should go. Now, I do understand, we're still doing some survey work to find out exactly where the property lines to make sure we can get there. But
Aren't we voting on the 824?
yes, we are voting on the 824.
That it's,
And that is a concept at this point. It's not a specific location.
concept, and the exact location is not known exactly, but
But we have a general idea.
we have a very close, within a foot, I would say, of where it's going to be. So I would say that's pretty close. I don't know why that has, this is just a referral to the Board of Selectmen that it's consistent with the plan of conservation and development.
I understand.
Maybe I misunderstood. I thought that the location wasn't designated.
No,
It is.
it's
Oh, okay.
designated, Mark. It's
Oh,
designated.
then sure. Then I'm sorry. I didn't. Then
Yeah.
I misunderstood that. My apologies.
Yeah. There could always be a surprise as we figure out exactly where the lot lines are and that sort of thing. And I'm under the impression that we have not come through that completely yet, and we haven't seen an application for it yet. We're just trying to get the 824 out of the way, that in that general location, we think that it's consistent to put the community senior center. And I think that's what the motion that I made had said. And Ann, if you feel that you're unable to vote for that at this point, we're going to take up, I know, some concerns you had about the change to the regulations here. One of the next items up. You have to vote the way you have to vote at this particular time. Any other discussion on the motion that's on the table? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. And Ann,
I abstain.
okay. Scott,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. The motion passes 4-0-1 with Ann Cremay abstaining. Okay. Next up, well, I guess next up, we said we were going to do the update on zoning amendments to section 5 in section 24 of the Andover zoning regulations. So at this point in Carol Ann, if you can allow me to try and share my screen again, and we'll see if I've got that in the okay, so
I see it.
yep.
Good.
So Ann, I know you expressed that you had some concerns and would ask to have this on the agenda tonight. And so
Yes.
go ahead.
Okay. I would like the commission and the public to know that I completely support this construction of the senior and community center. I believe it's been a long time in coming, and the community center taken in isolation is compliant with the Andover Plan of Conservation and Development. But in planning for this, we can't ignore the intended location of the center and the subsequent change to our zoning regulations. As a resident and a member of this commission, I believe we have to responsibility to make sure it's completed in such a way as to protect the school's interests and responsibilities, while also allowing the construction of a community center. I have concerns about changing the zoning regulations to delete schools from the list of special permit uses in the ARRD zone and substituting municipal land uses. I would much prefer to keep the listing for schools and add a municipal land uses to that special permit list. So we'd have both. I have 3 reasons for my beliefs on this. One is that the Connecticut General Statute number 10-220 requires that the Board of Education, and quote, shall have charge of the schools of its respective school district, shall make a continuing study of the need for school facilities and of long-term school building programs, and shall have the care and maintenance and operation of buildings, lands, apparatus, and other properties used for school purposes, unquote. That requires that school property is kept separate from other town-owned property. And that's one reason why I think we should have a separate zoning use. Another concern, number 2, the removal of the quote, school identifier and lumping it in with municipal, is that while school is a municipal building, it does not mean public access as would be expected in other municipal buildings, and is what's intended in the proposed definition. Today, there's a great need for safety and security of the school buildings and property. As we've seen in the past few years during the conversations about a senior center, possibly using some school classrooms, the parents in Andover were very concerned about keeping their children safe in school and wanting it separate. The third thing, the proposed addition to section 24 lists municipal land uses, buildings, structures, and the uses of the town of Andover or any regional public agency of which it's a member, but not including public uses by other agencies or entities compared to public, unquote. As the Connecticut General Statute requires the Board of Ed to have charge of the buildings and lands, I think there's a definite requirement for a separate identifier to be in the special permit uses. So that's why I feel we need to keep a school identifier and not just have it all lumped in with municipal.
Okay. And
A question, what was that statute again?
10-220.
Thank you.
so is one, we're not going to act on this tonight. At the next
Right.
meeting, we will have public hearing and
Mhm.
in further discussion. I wanted to get your concerns on the agenda tonight, and so that we have a chance to think about them in over the next month. And having Attorney Brant's on the call tonight worked out as a bonus, because now I don't have to, well, I will still ask you, Ann, at this point, to send me whatever document you were just reading through, so
Sure,
we can have that for our record, and I can
sure.
send it to Attorney Brandt so he can take a look at it. My first thought is that it's probably okay to have it all lumped in municipal land uses, because whether it's a school or a community center or a town hall or a firehouse or anything, it's going to get reviewed as a special permit consideration. And so we would, obviously have to comply with that Connecticut statute, which I haven't looked at yet because I just, am hearing about that. But at the same note, I don't see any downside with having schools out either. I don't think it's required, but if that, I don't know of any downside there, and so I will certainly consider it. I do trust when you say, and Jerry said in his letter from the Board of Education, that both of you are interested in seeing the community senior center built. I think that's been a item of friction, in the town for a long time. And so I want us to take a good look, because what I would like to have is, we've looked at it hard, and the Board of Education can go on record as saying that, they support and agree with whatever conclusion we come up with there. And I want to handle it, I remember oh so well that meeting that we had when we were looking to put the senior center in a wing of the school, and not looking, I would like to avoid that, that if at all possible. And I think working together, I think we can do that. Don't know, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But but I understand your desire to have schools broken out from municipal land uses, and we'll discuss that more at the next meeting on that.
Okay.
Any other commission members have any other, comments or questions for Ann while we're talking through this item here?
Ed, I have a quick question
Yep, go ahead, Leanne.
for Ann. Ann, you said something about a distinction about buildings that don't allow the public in. Is that part of your main point about the location, or are you making a distinction about just mentioning that some buildings may not be open to the public, or is that kind of central to what you're saying about the location or not?
It's mostly, my concerns are mostly about the zoning wording, to have, instead of under special permit uses as what's on our screen right now, it had been listed as schools, and it's been proposed to cross off schools and make municipal land uses. I'm saying we should have a separate one for schools, because a school is different in the access, especially today, in the last 10 years or so, how you can't just walk into a school anymore. It's under security, and parents and teachers and students, are to be protected there. And that's why I want to keep a separate permit item there.
For the record, Mark Brandt, I understand that, Commissioner, but that's an operational aspect and an administrative aspect. I mean, the Board of Ed would have control of schools as they do now. they're all special permit uses. I mean, it might be a town garage, it might be a senior center, it might be a school, it might be all sorts of things. But they're all going to have to be individually applied for and evaluated. So how does having the separate definition help or hurt that?
Well, I guess it just seems slightly different than all the other municipal uses.
Right.
I hate this, for years it had just said schools instead of municipal. I'd like to just add the municipal as a separate one instead of taking schools out.
The only problem I can think of, and I tried to check the reg just now, but I'll check more carefully. Some zoning regulations prohibit more than one principal use on a lot. That would mean that a school and any other municipal facility could not share the same lot. But I didn't find that in a quick review in Andover, but I'll search for that. That's the only, if so, we can simply say that except for municipal uses and schools, that we can fix that if it's there, but I'll find it.
And I do know there are other municipal buildings that are not open to the public. Like, I think courthouses in that, the public
Mhm.
just doesn't go wandering into a courthouse anymore.
Right.
And so there's probably other places too. So anyhow,
I do have a question now, thinking through this and looking at some of the other items that we have listed, like golf courses, hospitals, convalescent homes, childcare centers. What if there were to be a proposal to put in a private school or some sort of religious school that, like, Catholic elementary school? Would that be excluded from this?
As I drafted this, it's the municipal land uses is only of the town of Andover or regional agencies of which it's a partner.
Okay,
So we have other categories. I think we have other categories for private
okay.
facilities.
well, and I am looking as we go here, and I don't see anything. We took out private recreation areas and put, the public parks, playgrounds, and athletic fields in. I don't see, and I was expecting to see something on a private school. And it's interesting because when I look at our parking regs, because we've looked at that with respect to this thing, we've got a requirement for how many parking spaces there should be for a private school, but we don't address a public school. And so I guess we can think about, do we want to put private schools or something in here as we go through too? And we probably won't be perfect when we get done with this. The goal of this is into a timely manner, make it so that we can put a senior center, community center in the Andover rural design. For instance, you'll notice that nothing in there right now says we can put any municipal buildings in here other than schools. And so, somehow we came through and put up a firehouse and a town hall. And so we're going to make it better. And sometimes the driving force behind a change to the regulations is somebody wants to do something and it comes to the commission with whether or not we think that's a reasonable thing to do. So again, we'll give it some consideration. Attorney Branch, I appreciate your looking to see if there is any downside. I don't know that there's a lot of upside, but if that's if that eases some of the angst with the Board of Education, I would be happy to go that way for just that goodwill. And but we'll see. We're not voting tonight. We'll vote after we hold the public hearing and see what the other input is on that thing. Okay. I think that's, Ann, did you have anything else that you wanted to share on that particular issue?
No, I think that's probably it. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you for, I want to know what the concerns are so that we can address them, so that we all feel good about making a community senior center.
We'll still be getting a request for a permit, a building permit or whatever before that goes through, right?
Absolutely, and we won't get a permit until we change the regulation, if we choose to change it. Because if a permit's put in, they pretty much are putting the permit in for the regulations in effect at that particular time. And so we're gonna wait till after we've, acted on the request to change it and then go forward from there.
One thing that's probably not quite related, in the Plan of Conservation and Development in Chapter 10, I saw a plan from there, and it shows the conceptual plan of the town hall area, and it shows wetlands, and it looks like right where they're talking of putting the community center, it looks like it's wetlands, unless it's not enough detail for me to pick it out. And I just wanted to make sure we are okay on that, but you probably do that with the Wetlands Commission.
I think we will, and I've got faith that the people that have, put it in their proposed spot at this point didn't put it in the wetlands area. I think there was enough room. It does make it a little tougher to get out behind there for a potential housing development, but we do, we have to, we'll take the wetlands into consideration through the Wetlands Commission before, we act on that here too.
Okay.
Okay, so I am going to wrap up on that issue. I think that got us to the next item up, was the discussion of the gravel pit. And Jim, why don't you lead off the discussion on the gravel pit at this point, based on your letter to Mr. Genovese following our last meeting on what we thought was going to happen and where we are today and where you think he's trying to head. I understand Chris Bell has got medical issues, wasn't able to join us tonight. And so tell us what you know, Jim.
Sure. I believe it was at a meeting 4 weeks ago that the commission had directed me to send out a letter to them, and which was provided, and Mark Branson provided pretty much the body of that letter. And it asked for various things, work being completed by the end of November, which obviously it has not. And just that I be notified 48 hours prior to final grading, and that they shoot grades. For one reason or another, just it hasn't happened. I mean, there's been weather issues. There's been, I mean, all along there's been issues with contractor, and the owner just not. Hasn't been a priority for the owner. I think it's fair to say, which I realize is not the commission's problem. And Chris Bell, the engineer, was injured, seriously injured just before the meeting, the last meeting. And I believe now he has a infection, and he was unable to log on. He couldn't do it. So here we are. And then also I've been out there a number of times, and I thought they were getting close. And then they very recently, I think it was late last week, they opened up another section of the hill in the back, which I think we all thought was a done deal. I had said they could use some of the material. It wasn't gonna leave site. I thought it was further from the wetlands than it actually was. It didn't occur to me, and actually, Chris Bell thought they were working to the left of the location where they ultimately took it out of. So here we are. It's still incomplete. I am told that they could complete it this week. I'm not saying they will. Chris Bell on the phone this evening told me that. And he also told me what the plan to fix what's there is to excavate material to the left of where it was opened up, meaning closer to the auto parts parking area. Bring it over, degrade, so you have an angle of repose that will maintain stability on that hill. And then they were going to actually hay it and seed it this fall, but use some sort of material, I believe, that it will winter. That's what I was told. And we also are looking for an as-built upon completion, some grades. There's been a lot of discussion over where this water is going to drain, and we have a plan that has been approved, and we've been working towards that. And ultimately, that's the direction they've been heading. Seems that there's been some confusion with what grades they were working towards. That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, so so here is the drawing that was the restoration plan dated August 15th that was provided to us. And I think it's up in this area here that we've taken the big excavation.
Yes.
And hopefully I can bring up a picture of that in a minute. Now, so we've got the Hop River, and then this line here is 200 feet away from the Hop River. Now, we've also got wetlands line delineation going through here. And so this is the line that's the upland review area from the wetlands. And so if he is not excavating in that area, he is awful darn close. Now, I think from what I saw, this pile of topsoil is still there.
Yes.
Not sure, but when we were briefed on the restoration plan, we were told that all of this area here, all the way down to the silt fence, was not going to be disturbed. And so we have obviously
Right.
not complied with that. And so my concern is that we are continuing to not work collaboratively. We've got excavators doing what they want to do that doesn't seem to be based at all on the plan that Chris Bell provided to us and we agreed with. And so that's why I asked Attorney Branch to join us here tonight. And again, this talks about the proposed low point through all this. And it comes up, so this, the best I can tell with this 295x5, that's 295.5 feet. Over here, I see 296 feet, which is higher than that. And over here, I find 295.8 feet, which is lower than the 296. So that you get it to grade, drain down here and back towards the river. That's what I thought. And when I went, I stopped at the Extra Mart a week ago last Sunday, and I saw a depression in the plateau here. And I thought we were essentially done, and I thought it looked pretty good. And then there's all this work going on this week, and that caused, big concerns there. So I'm gonna stop sharing this and see if I can find. So this shows the big chunk that's taken out back there. Into the best that I could, and I think this is that pile of topsoil that is supposed
Yes,
to
yes.
spread around. But it just looks to me like this is at a minimum in the upland review area. I could be wrong, and I know Agent Wagner went out to take a look at that today. But what concerns me more are these stakes that are out there. And this one says 295.5. And it's got a line here with an arrow drawn to it. And what I want to make sure, Jim, is that doesn't mean we expect to grade up to that line, because all of these stakes have marks on them. And that's a significant, that would take a tremendous amount of dirt to fill it up to that level, if that's what that means. And if they're planning on taking that all from that hill in the back, that is not satisfactory. And I say it's not satisfactory. We said we weren't going to go in there because of a wetlands consideration. So I don't want, it's a violation. This is yours to do. They're choosing not to come back with a new plan that we asked them for. I am very leery at this point because nothing has gone according to plan on this since the start. And I just don't know what these elevation things, and I only use.
Jed, it says finished grade, FG, elevation 29.5, right
Yeah.
there, finished grade, that's where the grade is supposed to be.
Gonna be up to this line.
Yeah.
And that's a
Oh,
1.5 or 2 foot more high. And
Yeah.
right now, the plateau is higher than the extra mark, so I don't know why it has to go up that high. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting, when I looked at it a week ago, I thought they were all done and I was happy. Now they're doing something different. And so I like the approved plan. I don't think they're headed that way, and I don't like them taking it all out of that hill in the back. That is, certainly very close to the upland review area. And if it's not there, I think we need to have it lined off so that we're not digging in it. And I don't understand what the plan would be to rectify this gaping wound that we have, in that hill that was nicely seeded and restored early in the year as part of the restoration plan.
The back slope there, Jed, was to be left untouched. If you take material off that front slope, the back slope is not protected any longer.
Yeah, well, I'm not smart enough to say that one way
Yeah,
or
what-
another. All
Scott,
I
what-
can say
what
is,
Chris said is he was aware of that. And he was figuring how, basically gonna fill it in order to get that angle, the angle that he needs to stabilize the rear part of that hill.
Nope, nobody should be, there should be no more work down there until everybody understands what the other guy is doing.
so, I think at this point, they didn't do what they said they were going to do by the end of November. They didn't come to us with a plan. And they are not working collaboratively with you, Jim, so that you can hold the town's interest, make sure that the town's interest is upheld. This isn't the plan, and we need to figure out with these elevation markings that they got down there, what is it that they think they're doing? And so I'm not in a position, I don't think, to give direction to the zoning enforcement officer, but to allow them to continue going, I think is disastrous.
I mean, is there a way that we can move forward to get this done and the commission be comfortable?
The way that they would have done that, Jim, is they could have showed up at this meeting tonight and explained what they were going to do.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
it
no,
didn't happen.
and so I think we need to, at this point, based on the lack of wanting to work together with the town, we have no choice but to continue, the legal proceedings. I didn't want to go that way, but who's here telling us what it is that they're thinking?
Okay, as we sit here, I believe Genovese, the owner, is planning on having work done, moving forward tomorrow. Joe had asked they stop today, and then came to a decision that they were outside the regulated area. As long as they don't move any further. So I'd have to basically, tell them, if you want me to do that, I can. And we have Attorney Brant's here to give us a little direction on the mechanics of that. But whatever you want done, it's my job, I'll do it.
Well, I would think at a minimum, Jim, you would want to know what where are they planning to get the fill to move that whole plateau up that high?
Okay.
And why can't we get a plan that they're going to follow? That's all I want to know.
Well,
All
they're
this
working off.
energy into coming up with a plan and they don't follow it.
Well, I'm confused because, we're working off the 815 or 816 plan, the plan that's the most recently approved plan.
Yep.
And it appeared that they were close to reaching that. And now I'm looking at this grade stake that's telling me something different. So I'm kind of at a loss.
Okay.
Chad, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I always thought that aisle in the back was out of limits of anybody to touch. And I talked to other people about that, and they were in agreement with me that pile was to be left exactly. That's why they put those blocks back there, the cement blocks back there, to keep people out of that area. That was supposed to be left alone. Am I wrong with that? I thought that this whole pile was to be left exactly the way it was. That's why they seeded it.
That's what Chris Bell had repeatedly told us when we talked to that restoration plan.
Right, exactly. Now,
And is that what the plan shows? That was Mark Branch for the record. Does the plan show it undisturbed and no change in existing grade? Because if so, that's sort of the end of the story.
it says on the print, there's an undisturbed area.
And it includes this hill of this mound.
So, and again, one of the things that confused me, and I was never able to get Chris Bell to act on it, is I was hoping that there would be a final drawing without all these contours in here to clutter it up. With just
the
show
limit
the
of grading
final
that
picture.
The limit of grading that you're talking about is at 565. It's considerably behind where they are now.
Say that again, Jim?
The limit of grading that's on the approved plan is at 5 + 6.5.
Limit of, yeah, up here, limit of
Yeah.
grading,
So what I'm saying is that's
no grading
considerably,
beyond
that's
this point.
behind, that's behind where they have excavated.
And that was my point of confusion. I think that was on there from the original because we've got this zone 5 that they were gonna work on to go up there. I don't know. And all I can tell you is that every time Chris Bell talked to us about this plan, he said they weren't gonna do anything with this area back here. And so,
And I don't think, I mean, they weren't planning to. And then they,
okay, well, when they weren't planning to, and they briefed us that that's the plan, I think this is an artifact from the original zones, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that they were supposed to be working, and they never did it in accordance with that plan either. But
well,
I
my
don't,
understanding is they stopped short just in an effort to be done. They weren't going to take all the material that was initially approved. So they have their initial approval allowed them to go that far back. I don't see where they. are
Can you
really
blow that up,
concerned.
Jed? There's a number up here or a line to the vernal pools. And
yeah,
then it goes to that limit of grading. Is there a number on that? Because you can see the vernal pools clearly out back there.
I don't see a number. Oh, no, I do see a number. It's 95 feet. And that 95 feet corresponds with what was approved. If you look at Joe's email, his memo, which was sent out. I was wondering why 95, but that just happens to be what was approved by the Wetlands Commission, apparently, and which was on the original plan. See what I'm saying, Scott?
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
it's very hard to read.
That-
Actually, they have a sign, they have limits of grading and limits of clearing. The clearing is
Yeah.
way back. I'm
Well,
not sure I understand what they're getting at there. I mean, limits of
Chris,
grading.
if Chris Bell is worried about the big cut that they made in that hillside, I guess we're both in agreement with that because he probably wasn't supposed to be cutting into there, I would say. He's
No, he-
worried
he
about
wanted
it, and
that-
I'm saying that, Jed's saying it. Everybody that looks at it saying that it's odd, I guess something's up with it. And he probably shouldn't be taking any more material out of there until we figure out where we are. Where, like Jed said, where's the upland review here? And it doesn't resemble, this print doesn't resemble anything that's out there right now. Probably shouldn't be taking any more material out of there because nobody knows where we are.
I guess a question I have, Jim, is from when I look at this plateau that they've got across there, and it's still crowned now, not depressed like it was a week ago. We've got these numbers on here. Why does it have to be, if we're gonna change the plan, why don't we lower these numbers? Because this plateau is significantly higher than the ground level over at the gas station. So, it's well clear of any flooding, I would think. But they need the Planning and Zoning Commission concurrence on any changes to this plan. And they're just running off doing, I don't
Okay.
know what they're doing.
Right
Well,
now, they've
I
cut
did-
into the flood zone also. Right, they're cutting below the flood level in that
No.
area.
No, I don't believe so. The flood
Well, they
zone,
have, if the flood zone is 294, Jim, and
Yeah.
he's a foot and a half lower on the stake.
Got you.
Yeah, I don't think those stakes are right. I got no
Yeah, they
faith.
can't be.
So there's
Yeah, I
something
don't
going
think so.
on.
Something is not right here. And we are continuing to, there's no group that's, and it was always going to be Jim, Chris Bell, and workers. I had thought that we're going to go out there and make sure we were doing something in compliance with the print here. If that's not the group, I want to know who the group is.
Okay.
We don't have a plan as of right now. It expired the end of September.
I have a thought. Could we, is something we should bring the town engineer in? That's my understanding. We do have one.
Yep, we do.
I mean, would the commission be comfortable deferring to the town engineer as far as reviewing the approved plan versus what they're proposing to do?
Yeah, it would be.
Honestly, I'm trying to get
Well-
this site stabilized. That's my concern. And I mean, the commission meets once a month. They don't meet for 5 weeks.
Can we just send them a cease and desist until we can get
He already
together?
did.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Well, no, they're out there working. They were out there
Yeah.
working today.
Well, the order was to bring it into compliance with the plan. So the question is that what they're doing?
It doesn't
And
appear.
I mean, as far as referring to the town engineer, I guess the question is whether, I mean, if we're going to refer this for legal action, I'm going to need somebody to tell me, and it could be Jim, it could be the town engineer, somebody to tell me. For me, it's pass fail. Okay, are they in compliance with their approved plan or not? If the answer is no, doesn't matter to me by where it doesn't matter for the courts where they're out of compliance or how, right? But if they are, then that's a violation, period, the end. So I suppose if we need the town engineer, I guess what I'm trying to avoid is having the town of Andover go out there and shoot grades and things like that is the applicant's responsibility. If we incur that cost after suit is brought, we can recover it. If we do it before suit is brought, we cannot. So I guess the preferred thing obviously would be for the applicants to tell us what in the world they are doing out there and show us a plan or something.
Yeah,
And I
wasn't
realize it,
suggesting-
and I know Mr. Bell is ill now, so I don't want to, be unfair with him. But maybe the only role I see for the town engineer right now is to get a professional opinion as to whether they're in compliance with the approved plan, whatever that plan is. The answer is no. Then these guys have some explaining to do. And by the way, the commission does not need to and should not vote to send this to legal action, because that becomes an appealable decision all by itself. So it's the CEO's call with guidance from the commission, obviously. But I guess to me that the question is whether, I guess the question really is for Jim, whether you think that, I mean, it's by the weekend, the ground's going to be frozen. I mean, it's supposed to hit single numbers, in the next few days. So even sand will probably freeze. So the question is going to be, does Jim think that he can work this out with them and get them to tell us what they're doing and what these stakes mean, what all this means? If the response is no, if they're stonewalling him or if they're just whatever, then then we file suit and then we send the engineer out.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't suggesting the engineer shoot grades. I just wanted to bring in a professional.
I mean,
so
if he can tell us, no, this is not in compliance with the plan. But I think we kind of know that. And my understanding is that they're not even denying that. They say they're trying to fix it. Their contractors mucking around. We just don't know what's going on. And that's frustrating because this has been on the agenda a number of times already. And by now somebody should know what in the world is going on.
And my suspicion is if we asked Mr. Genovese what those stakes mean, he doesn't know.
No, I mean, I can deal directly with the contractor.
Is the
I mean, I can
contractor
be
the
out there.
guy that shot the elevations?
I'm not sure who shot them.
Okay.
I think it was an independent surveyor.
It would seem he either incorrectly shot the grades or the plan set the elevations too high to begin with. Because like you said, Jed, he can't possibly bring in enough, he's gonna have to bring in a ton of exterior fill to get up to those elevations.
Yeah, now, over here, it says the elevation at some benchmark, I don't know if it's in the ground or not, 295.35. But
Yeah, it says top of pin, but if you look over, the
yeah,
actual elevation, I think, is 292.88 at that pin. So I
okay,
think it's just a reference pin. So we could go check that pin and kind of
Yeah.
eyeball it and see if it makes sense relative to what his grades are.
Jim, I would ask you to consider, these stakes and the unknowns with it, where they're gonna get the fill. These elevations, when you do your own assessment of, is this grade right now higher or lower than the gas station? And how much higher, does it need to be over there? You got to convince yourself all that stuff. And if you can do that, more power to you. But I think you get the sense from the commission that there's a lot of frustration unknown, and we have worked way too hard on this to be stuck where we are now. But certainly, when we were here a month ago, Chris Bell said they could be done in 3 days. We said you can have to the end of the month. And here we are, December 19th, and we're maybe not even close. I know it doesn't crown. It's still got a crown, and I was looking for the depression in there to retain the water. What do you think you need to do, Jim? And maybe that's an unfair question, but.
No, I think I need to go out there and take a look at stakes, talk to the contractor, get a better sense of what's going on. I generally, when I stop there, usually I'm never speaking to the contractor very infrequently. It's been the gentleman on the loader. But I believe the contractor, I think Bill has.
That is the contractor. The guy that's been on the dozer and the loader is the contractor.
And I'll want his name and address somehow.
Where are these sections off of it? It's from this line down by the highway. I'd like to know where this all lays out. Where is that section 5, 6? Where are those sections? And do they have something that is it this just on is it a cartoon that doesn't mean anything? It was just drawn. Where,
Well,
where are
all
these
refer to
spots?
the phases that were discussed at the original approval, which I wasn't here for, but nonetheless.
Yeah, with sections to working sections where
They
they
were
were
100-foot
supposed to start
sections.
work. Right, but that's gonna give us an indication of where the upland review area is. And if they're into that protected area or not, Jim, that's something else we gotta figure out.
Well,
Where's that coming from? There's not any footages on that or anything. It's just a line on a piece of paper.
It is just a line on a piece of paper, but it goes back. And the original plan was they were gonna excavate
Right.
one zone, and
Exactly. Yeah.
then they would move to the next one and remediate that zone.
That never happened either, but all
That
I'm
never
saying is
happened
that
either. Yep, that's.
we got to figure out where we are, where it is. I'm trying to, I was looking from the other side, coming in from the vernal pool area to see if we could pick it out that way. It says 95. I guess I can see that now. That'd give you a starting point. You can get pretty close. Somebody's gonna have to go out there, Jim, and measure these things out and see if they're in the upland review area or.
Right.
Can they dig in that area? Say area sloped and grassed. It says right there. Sloped and grassed. grassed area, sloped area, sloped and grassed. So down to here at 5+00, it was sloped and grassed. So where is that?
Well, I think that sloped area is the side of the hill. You know,
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's supposed to be left untouched.
yeah, here's the gradients. These are the gradients that are supposed to be at the end of the day.
Yeah. And it's dug out. It's
Yeah, it's gonna have to be remediated.
Okay.
well,
Uh,
I mean, what he's proposed, again, what he's proposing to do is use material to the left, over towards the left. It's well away from any vernal pools.
I thought the material to the left was the loam. That's
It
supposed
is.
to be spread at the
Behind
end.
that.
Oh,
towards
okay.
the area of sloping grass. So it's just behind that area.
I am interested in seeing a restoration plan, which is what it's gonna look like at the end of the day. And if they need to talk to us about readjusting some of these elevations, you know, as long as it has the concept of this peak is a little bit lower than this peak over here. So if the basin overflows, it comes down here and back to the river. That's good. You know, it can be a little bit lower or whatever. I don't think they need to raise it another 1.5 feet, 2 feet to get to that point. Now, maybe I'm missing the point of the stake. I don't know, but they have continued to be very fuzzy with the facts here, and we don't have a plan. And we asked them for one, and here we are, no plan. Nobody's showing up to talk about it. And they just want to go ahead and do what they want to do. So
so Jim,
you
can
got
you
my
go back
thoughts
here?
on that, Agent Halsey.
I'm sorry, what?
Now, you know how the commission feels. You have to,
All right.
I think, you know, I don't understand why
I'll
you
go
aren't
out there
sitting here
and
talking
make
to
an
a plan.
assessment tomorrow.
That stake that you had there, Jed, would you agree that it was over a foot to the grade that it is, and a foot of material? I know it's more than that.
I think it's more than that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how high those stakes are. I
Okay, so-
thought they were like 2.5 feet, so I'm thinking that it could be anywhere, you know, 1.5 to 2 feet that they're talking about going up to that mark.
Okay, so right now, they are in the flood zone at 294.
If those elevations are
If
correct.
that's what we're showing here, that they're trying to make this so that they can build on it again. But at 294, it's unbuildable,
If
okay.
it's 294, I don't think it's right.
right? But
You
so
know, that stuff looks higher to me than the gas
Done.
station.
it's unbuildable. If that's how they have to leave it, you can't build there.
It
Okay,
says
Jeff,
there's a
so-
benchmark stake there at 294, right between the gas station and their property. So if you can find that benchmark stake, might help, right at the 3.00 mark. Or between
Oh.
3.0 and 2.0.
Oh, I see it, yes. The label's way over there, yeah, okay. 294.
Yep.
What happened was those guys just started digging and nobody was there to check on them. They cut that grade too far down, and now they're trying to figure out where they're gonna get all the material. That's an awful lot of material, because they changed the plan. And they made that higher, so it goes towards auto parts. Made that grade higher in there, and then dug it down too deep.
Now, I didn't see, Steve, the benchmark that you were talking about. I see this one here, which is, and I remember seeing that out there, 287.
Now they got a 296 and a 287 right there. You know, that's kind of a grade in a close area that's it's going to be dropping down in.
Mhm.
So I guess at next month's meeting, Jim, if you're the expert on this thing and can answer all the questions, that's great.
This,
But I think they shouldn't proceed until we have an agreed upon plan on what the end state's gonna look like.
and
That's what they were supposed to have done and they didn't do it.
I agree with you, Jed, that nobody even knows where they're digging right now.
Yep.
Who put those stakes in there in the ground? Do you know?
I don't know. Could have been the Extra Mart man for all I know.
I'm not saying that they're wrong or right. I'm
I
just saying.
got you.
Who put them in there?
We need to understand, what's going
And
on.
what did he use to locate those stakes and the elevation? How did he locate that? I can't even see a number off the highway or from a place there where you would locate those stakes to pick an elevation.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jim, so what do you want for way ahead?
Mark
Yeah.
Branch, what's your recommendation with this?
I think that it's difficult with Mr. Bell not being available. We're guessing. We're all doing a whole lot of guessing. I think that Jim should continue what he's doing now, try to get answers to these questions, find out what they're doing, if they know what they're doing. If he gets a runaround for nothing's going to happen now because we're entering the worst of winter. But I think if he keeps getting the runaround like he apparently has been, we just bring suit. We're just going to bring in action, and then things will shake out. I mean, that's all there is to it. And that's why, I mean, I actually intend, I mean, I would name the contractor. I would name the guy sitting on the dozer, whether that's the contractor or not. I don't care. We'll name Genovese. We'll name the contractor. We can name Bell because somebody's got, and you get enough defendants in there and somebody starts talking. But that's what we're going to have to do. I mean, like if they want to step up, I mean, this has been on for a number of months, but I think if Jim feels that they're responding to him or they're going to respond to him, then fine. But I really think that Jim's got to get some answers pretty fast. I mean, by the first of the year. And if he can't get any kind of responses as to what's going on here, then like I say, as long as someone can tell me that it's not in compliance with the approved plan, then we bring suit and we find out by how much it's not in compliance with the approved plan. It is disturbing that they're now excavating an area that was not to be disturbed. Apparently because they dug too far down, although we don't know that. But if they're entering an area that's to be not disturbed, then they've got to respond immediately, or we have to bring suit. I mean, that's all there's to it. They're now expanding. They're expanding the problem now,
Right.
So if Jim does not get satisfactory answers, within, like I said, by the first of the year, we just bring suit.
Okay.
And like I said, we'll sue them all. I'm not gonna. Well, it wasn't my fault. It was the engineer. It wasn't the engineer. It was the contractor. Wasn't the contractor. I don't care. We'll sue them all. So that's my thought.
Ed?
Yeah. Yes, Leanne.
I have a couple of questions and comments. I really appreciate the remarks that Attorney Branch just finished making, because as we've said, we've been going over and over and over this for months and nothing changes, literally. And you know, we were told this last month, that a plan was gonna be provided according to the minutes, if they're correct. And even if they didn't provide a new plan, as has been said several times tonight, they're supposed to comply with the plan from August. I wish we had, just for our own information, according to the minutes last month, the letter that was sent to Mr. Genovese was gonna be attached to the land records and posted on the, website, if I read it correctly, and I don't see it there. But Mr. Bell, it's unfortunate that he has, apparently has medical issues to the extent that he does, but even before apparently they were that serious, he would just, you know, it's physically impossible for him to be there every day, but it wasn't even close, and he would just act perplexed every month and say that it was a surprise to him as well, that not more had not been done, or what was done wasn't, you know, done at the time frame it was supposed to be done. So, I mean, this is just getting repetitious. And I agree that we need a deadline. Otherwise, you know, as Attorney Brents has said, they're talking about the ground freezing over now. And I just foresee this going on if we don't do what he just finished suggesting as far as taking further action.
And the reason I said that, by the way, is, you know, courts don't move quickly. So my goal is going to be to have something hammered out by spring. And that's really going to mean and bringing an action in January. It's going to be at least a month before it's even returnable to court. So now you're February. And so, you know, we really can't, and like I said, unless Jim gets very concrete responses, they've left us very little choice.
And to go back to Mr. Bell, a couple of points for a minute. One is that you would think, I would think anyway, that from Mr. Genovese's point of view, if Mr. Bell is unable to attend to these things in a timely manner, I don't know what his, you know, his time frame is for his, Mr. Bell's health, that there must be somebody else who can be brought in and brought up to speed. Otherwise, we're just going to keep, you know, having this, again, it's very repetitious. In the letter from November 23rd to Jim Hallisey from Chris Bell, he mentions a surveyor going out next week. This was dated November 23rd. We have a surveyor going out next week to provide grade stakes in addition to the ones I provided some weeks ago. So maybe it would be helpful to Jed and to the Commission in general to have the name of the surveyor, as well as, you know, narrowing down the name of the contractor and the people who've actually been using the equipment. I guess that's most of my remarks.
Yeah, I think the surveyor could have come in tonight and helped us understand. But
Yes.
okay, Jim, so, yeah, my guidance would, don't let these guys tear into the hill anymore until they can convince you that they got a good plan and how they're going to restore the hill and how far they're going to build it up. All those questions, but to let them continue to, you know, continue is on their own. I think at this point from a week ago, I think we've made the situation worse. You know, it's not a question of nothing being done. Now we're actively making it worse, and that's my concern.
Okay, I will go down tomorrow and try and. get a
I
better
wouldn't
handle on
wanna
it.
see it get
You know,
any
a lot of these
worse, Jim.
Conversations I've had with various parties, is, I mean, it's not on site. I don't have a plan in my hand. You know, I get a phone call, I'm on the road. It's not always real clear to me. So I'll try and get a better handle on it.
If they don't know whether or not they should be cutting that bank out, Jim, you should tell them, you should take their keys. Because we don't want them to cut that bank anymore unless they know for sure that they're supposed to be cutting into that bank or they're not supposed to be cutting into that bank. And don't let.
And it sounds like they're not supposed to be cutting into that bank.
They're not, I know they're not supposed to be. I talked to Hank about it. He said the same thing. That wasn't supposed to be touched.
Okay, so I guess that's that's it on the gravel pit. I think, Jim, we've given you all the guidance that we can. It's kind of in your court going
Okay.
forward. We'll see where we are at the January meeting, but if nothing else, we should have a plan that we can agree with. And if we don't agree with it, they'll be back out working on it to make it into a plan that we do agree with.
Okay. I think I will touch base with Hank as well.
Okay,
He seems to see what his
so I
concerns
think
are at this
that's,
point.
that's all that we had that could have been of interest to you, Attorney Brandt. Appreciate you coming on very short notice. You are muted, so I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. So glad to be of help, and we'll stay on this. I think our firm has brought more enforcement actions than all the other law firms in Connecticut combined. So we know how to do them. And if that's what we have to do, that's what we'll do. We'll hope we can
Okay.
avoid it, but maybe not. All right. Merry Christmas to all of you. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah to those of my persuasion, and Happy New Year.
And I know, Attorney Branch, you said that you were penciled in on January 23rd for our next meeting. So
Yes.
I think we'll need you at that one as well.
Okay.
thank
Now
you very
that
much.
one is written in. All right. Take care.
Have a
All.
nice holiday season yourself.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, the last thing I wanted to go through with everybody here very quickly is the budget. Yeah. And this is our budget form. And so I sort of owe this, Eric would like to have it by January 12th, which was before our next meeting. So I thought we'd discuss it just a little bit tonight. And, board clerk wages, Eric will take care of that. All I have to do is let him know how many meetings we're going to have in the next year and how long they're going to be. I'm going to tell him 15 meetings, 2 hours apiece. So that'll be that. Legal, professional, so far we haven't used up too much of that budget. But I think we've got the potential to use it up quickly. And so I would not want to go down on that any for next year. My sense is we'll leave that the same for that kind of support. That's my recommendation. Training, we haven't done any of that. We've talked about next March being the Connecticut Bar Association training. There is a cost associated with that. I'd like to have as many of the commission members attend that as possible. I think $500 was a good step there. My sense is that we are just starting the state mandated commission training. And the state hasn't come out with what the training should be yet. And so I was hoping we would get some of that done in this budget cycle. It probably won't. But I'm thinking that we would bump up training to $750 for next year because there's going to be more training to meet the state mandate once they figure out what it is. Mapping, we put $300 in for that. It shows we've used 240. Jim, do you know what we've done with maps to use that money up?
No, I don't. I was going to say the lake maps, but those would have been, I think, the last fiscal year, but I'm not sure. Let's see, this is July 1.
Okay,
Yeah, that would have been the last fiscal year.
yeah, if you could pull the string on that. I know there's a couple of maps we want to make.
Yes, yeah, there's a few
And
that
so,
I've been meaning to do. Some of them are simple, like the lake maps I'm supposed to get on Mylar. I have to do that. I assume that would come from that line item. I mean, that's I think a $40 bill. But then there's a couple other maps we want to take care of. One being the zoning map.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, bump it up a few $100.
yep, okay, so Well, I'll propose that we bump that up to $500, and if you would pull the string, Jim, to just see what that $240 is,
Sure.
I'd appreciate it. So,
All right, and you want me to explanation? Who's gonna,
yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
have to be a
you get-
detailed one. I just, somebody's charging us, somebody's saying we spent $240. I don't know what we spent it on.
no, I'm sorry. What I'm saying is, you're gonna submit this budget, correct?
Yep.
So you're gonna have to have an explanation for any increase or decrease.
Yes, and if you want to send me some justification comments, I know
Sure.
we want a
I
new
can do that.
zoning map, and
Okay,
there might be a couple other things that we had talked about.
I can do
Money-
that. I believe I have this. I believe this was sent to me. If not, I can get it. I think. I was gonna say I can get it from the finance department, but there's nobody really in there. to
Okay,
speak of.
yeah, don't need it tonight,
I'll
not a
figure that
big
out.
deal. I was surprised at the number. So any other commission members have any comments on the proposed budget? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve next year's budget with legal and professional being the same, training being increased to $750, mapping being increased to $500.
I'll
Second.
second.
Second that.
I heard a couple people, but we'll say Steve Nelson seconded. Any other discussion on the budget? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Ann,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion passes 500. Um, So the next couple of items we can go through pretty quickly. And I think there might be a couple of people holding on for public speak, so hopefully we'll get there quickly to accommodate them without too much further delay at this point. There's probably a way I could have done that better, but I'm not aware of it right this minute. Next item up is the approval of the minutes from our regular meeting, November 21st. And I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the planning and zoning regular meeting Monday, November 21st.
Second.
Okay, Scott, seconds, thank you. Any comments?
Yes, this
It's
is
not a miss-
Leanne. I had a few.
Yep, go ahead, Leanne.
On page 1, under A, there's an E on the end of Chris Bell's name, which I don't think is how he spells it. I think it's just B-E-L-L.
Yep, I agree.
And then, further down, the sentence that starts with Jim Hallisey, et cetera, will follow up with Chris Bell. There's an R missing from Chris.
Yep,
And also on this page, I had a question. It's not necessarily a correction. Going back to the sentence that starts, a remediation order that incorporates compliance with the approved grading plan that will also be attached to the land records will be sent by Jim Hallisey. It doesn't say to whom. I assume it was to Mr. Genovese, but if that's correct, could we add that so we know who was supposed to have received, been the recipient of that?
Is that the intent or was it to be filed? Is that, I don't see what the exact section you're referring to. So I was directed to send it and file it. And I did both. I did not,
Okay.
I did not post it. I
well,
Jed
it
had
just
asked me to do
uses
that.
the
Maybe
word
that-
sent.
Yeah, I think, Leanne, if we change the word sent to file, that would get the intent we're looking for.
Okay, because the intent was for it to be filed on the land records, right?
Yes, yep.
And that was done.
Correct.
Okay. And then on page 2, near the top under letter C, the sentence that says Attorney Mark Brandt to Jim Hallisey, do not publish illegal notice of the vote. I think it should be a legal notice.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the notice of action. I
Yeah.
mean, which is a legal notice, so.
But it's not illegal.
Mhm.
You're doing good, Leanne. What else you got?
Right in the middle of the page, Jed Larson motioned to modify the initial motion to include accepting, I think it should be it's the same pronunciation, accepting, ACCEPTING.
Yep.
And just one more, on the last page, under number 10, public speak is spelled with 2 E's.
Okay.
Okay,
And I guess that's it.
got all those, Carol Ann? Any other comments on the meeting minutes? I did have a couple in under the heading. It says public hearing minutes motions. I think we didn't have a public hearing. That was a regular meeting. And then on line 1, Jed Larson called the public hearing to order, should be the meeting to order. And then at the bottom of the page, and it's part of the boilerplate on all of them. It says public hearing and regular meeting motions minutes. It's cross out public hearing and it should be regular meeting minutes and motions. And that's on each of the pages there.
Okay, I'll take care of that.
And I had no other comments on that. Any other commission members have any comments?
I've got one, Jed, on the
Yep.
top of page 4, where it says Jim Hallisey will look into Steve Nelson's concern regarding Center Street property has a big drop off. We should probably specify which Center Street property. And the fact is that it's a demolition site and it's a drop off into the foundation. So it's a safety issue.
Yes. So
The street number is 12. If,
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
and I am on that slowly.
So to finish the thought, there has a big drop off into the foundation.
Yeah, I mean, they should either put a
No, I-
fence around it or,
Yep.
or at least mark it off. So
No, I
it-
agree with you, and I agree with completing the thought there, and okay, anything else? Hearing no further comments, I'll call for a vote to approve the meeting minutes as amended. Ann,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Motion to approve the minutes as amended passes 500. Next item up is correspondence. Jim, anything there?
No,
Okay. Administrative reports, Jim?
yes, enforcement actions. I'm working on a complaint regarding illegal home occupation on Merritt Valley Road. Letter went out, and I have some direction to provide the property owner. Long Hill Road is a longstanding issue. That's the greenhouse on the corner of Bear Swamp and Long Hill, with the intersection there. I had sent a letter to Dennis O'Brien to see where to go from here. I've sent them, basically, as far as I know, they're incurring a fine, a daily fine. I forget what it is, but I have seen no activity there at all. I have not gotten a response. Dennis, I know, is away for a little bit, so I'm hoping by next week maybe they'll get back to me. Let's
That's,
see where to go from there.
that's someone living in a trailer, Jim?
No. Look, that's the greenhouse that has been under construction for a year and a half. The remodeling, Long Hill Road.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that house.
Trailers,
But
I'm working on one at Barnett's property on Route 6. I believe it's resolved. I am going to follow up on that. That was people living in a trailer behind the house. It was kind of complicated. And I have two complaints, one of property on Times Farm about a trailer and one on Bear Swamp. And I'm trying to ascertain if they actually are being, I don't want to send a letter out until I have a better idea as to whether they are actually, whether I can say that I've seen the activity.
Have you been up to see that one? Bear Swamp?
Yes,
It looks like somebody's living there, right?
it does, but I couldn't tell for sure. Generally what I do is I try and go by in the morning. I think I mean, if I can't figure it out, I'll send a letter out and just feel it out. I didn't see how they got in and out of that door though. But they have plastic all around it.
Mm-hmm. Insulation.
So those are two, yeah. That's about it. I do have a couple other things. One is, I did get an inquiry from Dollar General about putting a fence along the property line. And I wanted to get a sense as to whether the commission was looking for an actual application, a change for a modification for the special permit, or whether that would be an administrative decision. So it would run from Route 6 area back towards the rear of the property, just to try to screen to the tree farm. I think there was a lot of activity over there lately, and they just want to keep it separate from the retail ambiance.
Jim, I would think that we would handle that in whatever manner we handled the gazebos over at the network property. Is that what it is out there on Route 6?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Okay,
so,
I believe that was actual, yeah, okay, that was a modification, but it would require an application.
yep, and
So
I
we can
did,
do that. I can do that.
I didn't get a chance to research that before the meeting. We were scrambling with other stuff.
If you recall, that Mark Brandt happened to be at that meeting, and there appeared to be two different interpretations, the regulations seem to let you do it two different ways, quite honestly. It could have been probably written better. I'll call that up. I remember that.
Okay, but I would
Sure.
think at our next meeting, we would have an application and then the commission can decide whether we want to act on it or we want to turn that over to you for action.
Okay. I can do that.
Okay,
That was brought up by the neighbor during the application.
It was, yeah.
It was, yep. And I think the neighbor is going to be excited to have a fence in there.
You will be.
Yep, that'll be good news for him.
I just have
Is he the
one
one
other,
actually bringing this up now?
Say again, Leanne?
Is the neighbor the one who's bringing this forward again now? It wasn't clear to me. I'm
no,
just
it was
wondering.
Dollar General that was going to do it on their own initiative.
Oh,
Okay.
that's good.
Yep.
Speaking of
Um,
the Dollar General, Jim, were you finished?
With that one, I do have one other issue.
Okay, I was gonna make one comment when you're through. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I just wanted to point something out. A gentleman contacted me regarding a cannabis packaging facility. And I just wanted to point out to the commission that the regulations in place speak about the sale of cannabis. And there's actually 14 different, or, yeah, he said there were 14 different licenses under that the state has. I forget, micro growing or something, I'm not sure, but various things. Just pointing that out. And I had indicated that I believe that he could do it under our existing regulations in an industrial area by way of a special permit. I'm just pointing out that the regulation that's in place is the way I read it anyway, it's simply sales. It uses the term establishment. We do not define establishment. I know the statutes define it in various regulations. I'm not aware that it would come into play here. I'm just pointing it out. Just sort of, if they ever did move forward, I actually would like also to look at this, what was passed by the legislature, and see what might be coming down the road. For instance, I kind of wonder whether it would fall under agriculture, but you're talking about a building, growing cannabis in a building, I would assume.
Yeah, when we talked about the regulation, and we did that in support of the Board of Selectmen, resolution, but I figured you're either selling it or growing it. I didn't think, never considered a separate thing for packaging it. So
Right.
I'll have to go back and take a look.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm not saying it's a big issue. I just wanted
Yep.
to
No,
point it out.
Probably not. I just didn't even consider that as a possibility.
I guess it could be handled just like any other business, special permit. That's all I have.
Okay. No, we did not have an inland wetlands meeting last month, so nothing to report from that. But finally gets us up to public speak. Thank you for being patient. With the school superintendent, and I don't know how to properly address you. There's different possibilities. So how should I address you?
Valerie's good.
What's that?
Valerie's just fine.
Okay, very good. I can make that work too. Thank you.
So I have two things that I would like to say based on the agenda for tonight's meeting. First of all, as Mark said before he left, happy holidays. I know it's Hanukkah right now and Christmas for those who celebrate. So the first thing that I wanted to say was on the school side, as the superintendent, and on behalf of the board, we all want this community senior center to be built. That's not a question. This senior center 5 years ago, apparently before I was there, before the principal that's there now, and actually half of the board that's there now, it is a shame that there wasn't a way to make that work with the school building. I think that would have been perfect. I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what happened, but that would definitely have been a good collaborative effort. I heard this commission speak when you were looking at one of your agenda items, the Genovese plan. And I actually wrote down a couple of things that you guys said because they were very important to me. You said we all need to understand. We have a lot of questions. We need to talk and not guess. We need to work collaboratively. And that's very admirable that you do that with all of the things that come before the commission. But that's also what the school side is hoping that will be done with this senior center, is to have everybody work collaboratively to make this happen. I know Anne Creme mentioned 10-220, and you have a very proficient attorney, Mark Brantz. And he said, oh, I'm going to scroll and look that up, because school law is different from all of the other factors to consider. So I would really love to see the school side, the Board of Education, really be able to work collaboratively and have the input from that valued elected board as well be considered during this process, because there is a lot of stuff that is different on the school side, which is why that law exists. I know in 1992, there was a building committee that had to look regarding the moving of a faulty septic on the school. And there was a very, very unique committee that was put together that was representative of all of the commissions and the boards in town. And it was a job that was able to be completed collaboratively. And I think that that could happen again. To Anne's concern about the removal of the word school from that document, I saw daycare stay in there, golf course, horse riding, hospital. And I think that to eliminate the school as part of a representation in that document is concerning because of the location. So I would just ask, moving forward, that it be a collaborative effort. And I would hope that this would be something that not only planning and zoning, but the people of the town and the Board of Education and the Board of Selectmen consider when they look at. I know that Mark will give you guys his input with 10-220, but that is my hopes moving forward into 2023, is that this will be a collaboration and it will be done to benefit not just the seniors, everybody in the community. So thank you.
And I do think the seniors are an asset, not a liability, and we should be looking at how to capitalize on that. But I do want collaboration. The gravel pit is an example of what happens without collaboration, and we saw that the last time we tried to put the senior center in the school wing. And I have no desire to repeat that. So thank you very much for your comments. Thank you for attending.
Thanks.
Ms. Hutchinson. Catherine Hutchinson, you have anything for us tonight?
No, thank you. I appreciate your calling Attorney Branson. He is so knowledgeable, and you're fortunate that the town has retained him to represent and help the commission in its matters.
Well, it certainly, I know you have been watching all of that closely, and I felt that we needed to keep Attorney Brantz in the loop to help us make sure that the result is what we all hope it to be.
I think that was an excellent decision
No.
that you made.
So thank you for attending. I think that's it from the public here tonight. Thank you for hanging in with us there to the end. I know you have to listen to a bunch of stuff that you'd probably not care to hear to get to that point. Our next regularly scheduled meeting with a public hearing will be on January 23rd. That's moved off a week from what our normal date would be because of the Martin Luther King holiday. Carol Ann, good job on the minutes. I know we had some little nits in there, but for your first crack at getting the minutes out, I thought they were very nicely done and captured the essence of what we were talking about.
And I'm happy to be on board. Thank you very much for your input.
And just want to, take a minute to wish all of you here happy holidays. And I really appreciate the fact that you show up every meeting and participate and engage and, and we need to hear some opposing points of view amongst ourselves too. It shouldn't always be just, we go off and do whatever we do. I like to hear both sides, and I appreciate you bringing your concerns forward tonight, because that will help us work collaboratively to get a good result on that too. And we all do want that. So any other comments before we adjourn?
Jed, I have one really quick thing.
Yep, go ahead, Leanne.
I just wanted to mention that I've stopped in to shop at the Dollar General a couple of times, and I noticed that the stop sign, the exit onto Route 6, as opposed to the one on Lake Road, has an arrow that says "do not turn left." So I don't remember that being discussed. I mean, I personally was concerned that, that people should be directed to Lake Road anyway, and, they said they had to have this entrance and egress onto Route 6 for their trailer truck. But anyway, I don't remember us specifically asking for this, but there is an arrow telling people not to turn left onto Route 6. Somebody did it while I was standing there watching anyway, but at least it's there as a direction telling people not to do it.
I saw that as well, and I know that, when we were talking about it, we thought that was a matter, for the state to make that recommendation. I'm kind of like the fence. I'm surprised that the fence request is coming in, but I'm happy that it is. And I was happy to see that sign up saying right turn only going out onto Route 6. I think that will be helpful in trying to make it just a little bit more safer than it otherwise might be. So good comment, Leanne. Anybody else? Going. Happy holidays to you all.
I have one question for you, Jed,
Yep.
I've noticed on Long Hill, up near where Hendy comes in at 243 Long Hill Road, that abandoned house up there that's got a hole through the roof, it's for sale now as a lot. Instead of the house is still there, but they're trying to sell it as a lot. It's less than an acre. Could that be ever used to be built, a house be built on it when it's less than an acre?
So I will ask, I could probably answer it, but I might get it wrong. So I will ask Jim to respond to that question.
Okay.
Yes. I wasn't aware that they were actually, are you suggesting they would remove the house and rebuild? Is that what you're?
It sounds like it, because the real estate sign says lot for sale. And when you look up the real estate listing online, it just talks about a lot. No mention that there's a
Right.
house there.
I
You get
did
the house for
provide-
free.
I thought, I read the same thing, Ann, and I thought that they said that the house has to be removed. I read that listing also.
Oh, so then
all right, I mean, that's.
what
that's
can you do
their
with less than an
decision,
acre?
but, I'm not aware of any requirement that they remove it. It is a lot. It's a lot that was approved by way of a subdivision back in 1993, I think. I in fact sent a copy of the plan, the subdivision plan, to the realtor. And to chase it down and
Mhm.
send it out. The house was there when the subdivision was approved, so it was a little unusual. There's nothing wrong with it, but it must have complied with the regs at that time. It is a lot of record.
Hmm.
And there's
So they
other
can build a
lots.
house.
Go
I'm
ahead.
assuming, when you say it's less than an acre, it must have been, I have to assume it was 40,000 square feet.
It
mean, that
said
would-
the listing was like 0.9 something acres.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that, just because in 1993 it was 40,000, that's why 40,000 was minimum, and there's a lot of lots that are exactly 40.
Well, for instance, there was, the house burned down on Lake Road, something like 224 or something there. And, the house has been knocked down now, but it's a fairly small lot. It's probably a half an acre lot. Somebody will buy it and build a house back at least to the size that was on there before.
So, but then I remember last year, we wouldn't allow an accessory apartment to be built on a house, an existing house, an existing lot, because it was less than our minimum. So why was that?
That's because our regulation specifically specifies you've got to have a 60,000 square foot to put an accessory apartment in. I was going to
Oh.
talk about that a little bit tonight, but I didn't want the meeting to go any longer than it
Okay,
already is. So we'll talk again, but
okay,
you can
thank
build a
you.
house. You might be able to build an accessory apartment, and we're going to try and make it so that it's easier for people to build those accessory apartments.
Okay,
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Thank you, Steve. Call for a vote. Ann,
aye.
Scott,
I think you're
can
on
hear you,
mute.
Scott. Yep,
I said aye.
okay. Steve,
Aye.
Leanne,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. That motion carries 5-0-0. Everybody have a wonderful holiday season. Stay healthy. There's a lot of that bug going around. And I look forward to seeing you all as we get started next year. Thank you very much for the support.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks, Jed.
Night.